Prime Minister has played down the prospect of conflict in the Indo-Pacific region as he announced a major upgrade of defence training facilities in northern Australia. Scott Morrison also gave the strongest indication yet the government could review the lease of the Darwin port to Chinese company Landbridge.
Meeting with United States Marines in Darwin, the Prime Minister was at pains to talk down the prospect of conflict.
We've been in every blue together for over 100 years, so
yes, sir.
And I imagine we'll be in every one going forward too.
Yes, sir.
Let's just hope there are none of those, but we'll be ready regardless.
And while the dogs of war weren't barking in the top end, it was talk of war drums beating, making international headlines. Provocative comments from Home Affairs Secretary Mike Pezzullo have made it all the way to the front page of London's Times.
We should have more cautious and sober language from people in those positions.
The Prime Minister says his government is committed to peace in the region.
Well, I've just set out what the government's policy is. I'll let others commentate on others.
The Prime Minister announcing $750 million for upgrades at 4 top-end training facilities. Ranges at Robertson Barracks, Kangaroo Flat, Mount Bundey and Bradshaw will be improved for war game exercises with the US Marines.
Medical facilities, particularly at Bradshaw, which will enable that world-class facility to be the best in the Southern Hemisphere.
And while Labor has accused the government of re-announcing old news...
So once again, we see a re-announcement but with an inflated price.
The Prime Minister says the scale of the project has increased by more than $200 million.
Of course, the environment in which we're operating has been changing.
With regional tensions front of mind, there have also been calls for a review of the 99-year lease of the Darwin port to Chinese company Landbridge. The Prime Minister giving the strongest indication yet that it might take action.
If there is advice from the Defence Department or our security agencies that change their view about the national security implications of any piece of critical infrastructure, then you could expect me as Prime Minister to take that advice very seriously and to act accordingly.
The Prime Minister also joined the Northern Territory's Chief Minister Michael Gunner for a tour of the Howard Springs quarantine facility. This former workers' village has been hailed as the gold standard for quarantine since the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic.
I suspect this is the best one quarantine facility for COVID anywhere in the world.
The government acting to address one global crisis while preparing for the prospect of another. Matt Cunningham, Sky News, Darwin.
If there is advice from the Defence Department or our security agencies that change their view about the national security implications of any piece of critical infrastructure, then you could expect me as Prime Minister to take that advice very seriously and to act accordingly.